All right. Well, welcome everybody. We're glad that you're here today. We're going to begin right now, and we're going to give you a sneak peek at a brand new simulation that was just created. So I'm going to turn it over to the founder of School Sims, Ken Spiro, right now, and he's going to share a little bit to get us started.
Thank you, David. And I'll.
Our class will be acting like fools.
Oh, Ken, I think you got muted. You want to unmute?
I am muted. Yes, I was covering part of my screen. Sorry about that. Wanted to welcome you all. As David mentioned, my name is Ken Spiro. I'm the CEO and founder of School Sims, formerly Ed Leadership Sims, for those of you who may have come across us before we shifted. And I'd like to start off real quick with a question that I'd love to have you answer, if you would, in chat. I'm going to ask that you fill in the blank for me, if you could. And the statement is, blank is the best teacher. If you could fill that in for me, what you think. And it's not a person. I know we all know that best teacher. But if you wouldn't mind just typing in what you think. Good. Great. That's fabulous. I appreciate all of your participation. And as you all are seeing, predominantly the answer is experience is the best teacher. We know that. Those of you who said life or failure are actually manifestations of experience, if you will. So we all know that experience is the best teacher. And so for us, just to give you, for those of you not familiar with our work, with simulations in general, just to give you a quick sense of what simulations are about as we engage in this exercise momentarily. And so if we know that experience is the best teacher, one of the things that we look to do is, in essence, then manufacture experience, to provide you with an opportunity to learn from that, from safe experience, if you will. And I'll explain that a little bit more. But we know that simulations have been approximations for experience from many other industries, other high stakes industries like education is, including the military, including aviation. We all know about flight simulators in healthcare. And now it's important that we actually apply the same kind of safe experience, if you will, because these decisions are so compelling within the realm of education and education leadership at whatever level you're at. David? I have been doing simulations for over 30 years, only more recently in K-12. And I've been working with leaders from multiple industries from around the world. And I can tell you that it has been my observation that the role of the educator and the education administrator or leader is probably the most pathetic leadership job I've come across. And I mean that with the greatest of respect. And I say that because nowhere have I seen a job where the stakes are so high. We're dealing with our kids, we're dealing with our future, frankly. And so the decisions are inherently complicated. And it's exacerbated by a group of stakeholders whose demands are so exclusive of each other, and that each one may be more irrational than the next. So really, no matter what you do in your role, chances are, no matter how good your decision might be, chances are somebody's not going to like it, and they're not going to like it a lot. And so what I think are two of the key skills required in whatever role you're at or you're in is, on the one hand, being able to exercise good judgment. We have to make the best decisions we can. But at the same time, we need to be resilient. We need to be able to roll with those punches, if you will. We need to be able to get up off the floor even when we get knocked down multiple times a day and be able to continue operating because the kids are depending on it. Our communities are depending on it. And the thing about judgment and resilience is that you cannot teach either of them. I can tell you about them, but the only way to get better at them is through experience. And that's really what the simulations are all about. So David, just real quickly in a nutshell, what you're going to experience today is something around counseling, virtual counseling, relating to the pandemic. And what we try and do is, on the one hand, we want to create a recognizable experience, right? If we're manufacturing this, we want it to be recognizable and authentic. And so this is a simulation that we actually worked on with University of Indianapolis, relating to issues relating to counselors and leading in that context. And we want to create a context, a realistic context. So it's not necessarily your school, but it could be. And the people you'll be interacting with are not necessarily your people, but they could be. And then put you in a situation where you're going to have to actually make decisions. You're going to have to make choices. You're going to be facing issues, a problem of practice within counseling, within leading a counseling team, and you're going to have to make choices. Along with that is you're going to also have to deal with the consequences. This is not a one and done type of thing. And in fact, as we think about this idea of judgment and being able to grow from an experience perspective, it's not the decision as complex as it is that gets us, it's the blowback, right? It's what happens after the decisions we make. Either we weren't expecting what happens or we do. Like, it's just that stakeholder who's kind of scary, or whatever the case may be. So we want you to deal with consequences. So that'll play out, and ultimately have the opportunity to do this in a group setting so that we can talk about it. We have the opportunity to, amongst the group and facilitated with David, who I'll introduce in a moment, but really to have that opportunity to process, to have a shared experience, if you will, and ultimately to have an opportunity for reflection, because experience is the best teacher, but only when you have the opportunity to also reflect. And so we'll have some of that as well. So with that as a brief introduction, just so you know, we do have a library of these kinds of experiences, of simulations. In fact, a number of them are actually targeted at the counselor role. The next one we're working on actually is on data-driven counseling. But we have a library of almost 30 simulations that range in levels of leadership across schools. And you're welcome to find more about that at schoolsims.com/simulations. But in the meantime, I'd like to introduce Dr. David DeYoung, who is the chair of the Division of Education Leadership at University of South Dakota, somebody we've been working with and has been facilitating simulations over the last number of years, hundreds of times. He was formerly a superintendent, formerly a principal, an educator, and par excellence, if you will. And I will turn it over to David, and enjoy.
Well, I'm glad that everybody's here today. Thanks, Ken. So we are excited to share this new simulation with you. And kind of part of the reason why I am joining us today is I stumbled across these simulations about 4.5 years ago. And I loved them the moment I saw them. And I started using them in different ways. And I'm just excited to share with you a new one that we have today. So the one that we're going to talk about is leading a virtual school counseling program. So in this simulation, you're the chair of a counseling department, and it's going to, the storyline's going to give us about 5 to 7 minutes of context to start off, which is very normal for all 30 simulations currently in our library right now. And after that, we have to use the chat feature within Zoom, and we also have to make decisions on each decision point. So I kind of, the first simulation I saw 4.5 years ago, I was like, oh, these are like those choose your own adventure books that I read as a boy. And that's very much what they're like. So throughout the simulation, we're going to be dealing with student submission concerns, cyberbullying complaints, students with no internet, students that are stuck at home with abusive parents, complaints that the teachers are not giving engaging lessons. And we have to make decisions on that or delegate those decisions based on our priorities. And we'll have consequences. So they'll explain, you see that little thing in the bottom right-hand corner? It shares, like, based on our choices, it measures the satisfaction. So keep that in mind as we make our decisions. And this simulation is going to begin when the COVID-19 pandemic closes a school. So without further ado, I'm going to switch right now to the simulation. And in this sim, you may use any browser. I happen to like Firefox, but you may use any browser.
Welcome to the Leading a Virtual School Counseling Program simulation. In this simulation, you will face, prioritize, and deal with a variety of issues and challenges associated with transitioning to and working in a virtual environment. Select the Next button to the bottom right to begin. As in real life, you will not be able to go back in time during the simulation. There is no back button. You may only move forward. If you need to exit the simulation and return, you may restart or continue from where you left off. For a description of the buttons below, select the question mark button, which will display a help page in a separate browser tab. Finally, keep moving forward by selecting the next button to the lower right. In this simulation, we've created a dashboard to the right to show how your decisions impact student, parent, and faculty staff satisfaction. These are 3 important stakeholder groups that your choices will influence. Select the eye icon to see dashboard item names. Colors will change from time to time based on your choices. Green suggests that you're managing them well, yellow means not so well, and red, well, you are the chair of the counseling department at Altamont High School, grades 10 through 12. Including yourself, there are 5 counselors serving 2,146 students. You have 705 seniors looking forward to being the 50th graduating class, and 742 sophomores struggling to get integrated into the social fabric of your tradition-steeped school. About 71% of the student body is on reduced or free lunch. And a moderate percent of students don't have personal electronic devices. Although students who have access are encouraged to use computers and tablets, they are not provided, and thus most assignments accommodate those without internet access. At the end of last year, you worked with your counselors to develop goals for the coming year. Frustrations regarding declining college enrollment, accompanied by a growing demand for counselor time with Tier 2 and 3 caseloads, drove creation of a goal to increase the frequency of contact with Tier 1 juniors and seniors. Counselors felt that, if done correctly, increased touch points could keep counselor support top of mind, and through targeted questions and messages, they could potentially enhance desire and preparation for transition to higher education following graduation. Your entire department is pleased with and committed to this goal. They have demonstrated creativity in finding ways to achieve it in the halls, lunchrooms, and classrooms before, during, and following school hours. It's early Thursday morning, the 3rd week of March, and as you are preparing for the counselor exchange meeting you've scheduled each morning, you read a state alert issued only moments ago that beginning tomorrow, Friday, due to a recent outbreak of COVID-19, all public schools will be closed until the end of the school year. They also indicate that school closures may continue into next school year. You immediately begin to contemplate the implications of this decision on you and your team of 4 counselors. One of your departmental goals this year has been to improve graduation rates, and you quickly recognize that a need for significant numbers of virtual interactions will increase the difficulty of connecting with many students, hampering those efforts. You begin your daily planning problem-solving meeting by reading the announcement to your team. They have all been hearing rumors, but the suddenness of this announcement still brings a reaction of surprise. Many assumed that the outbreak had the potential to impact the remaining 11 weeks of this school year, but few considered that it may affect next year as well.
I love this simulation so far because it gives me that pit in my stomach that I had back March when this was a reality.
We currently have touchpoint opportunities with students in the halls between classes and in the lunchroom over the noon hour. Those will evaporate in a virtual environment, and most will need to be scheduled and conducted via the internet. Many of our homes don't have internet, so how are we to stay in touch with and encourage our students? Yeah, and if we need to schedule time via phone or internet, that's going to create a scheduling nightmare. Everyone is going to be meeting virtually, and it's going to deteriorate into a virtual circus. How are we going to address our goal for increased touch points with Tier 1 sophomores, juniors, and seniors to encourage college? And how are we going to identify students needing social emotional help? You sense your team's concern regarding adjustments they anticipate and the potential effects these adaptations will have on a counselor's availability, as well as your ability to pursue your departmental goal. Addressing the social emotional needs of the students quickly surfaces as a significant issue concern. In a brief coordination meeting with the faculty and staff, Principal Stout makes the following announcement. Effective tomorrow, schools across the state will be closed for the remainder of the school year. I want to emphasize that the closure could extend into the next school year. Contingency planning is underway, but complete solutions must be developed as we go. So please find a helpful way to share frustrations and concerns. I want to encourage all of you to be safe and try to remain flexible as we embark on this adventure together. It doesn't take long for the concerns to begin pouring in. Within an hour of the announcement, you receive calls regarding the following. Students wanting to know the impact this will have on grades, graduation, scholarships, and a number of related concerns. Several parents have questions regarding how this will impact them and their role for the remainder of the school year and potentially into the future. Community leaders and service organizations are concerned about health, nutrition, and quality of life issues facing a number of your students and their families. Local colleges, universities, and business schools begin reaching out to identify and propose solutions to developing problems. The ripple of concern seems to be expanding hourly. While you're scrambling to address each question and concern, Principal Stout comes into your office and takes a seat and says, I know this is going to constitute a major challenge for you and your team. He smiles and says, besides being severely understaffed, what are the primary issues you expect to face? What are the primary issues you expect to face? Type your responses in the space below.
All right, so we have people joining us from all over the country, and I would like you to use the chat feature right now within Zoom. So click on chat and answer that questions. Your principal comes across the desk from you and says, what are the primary issues you expect to face? So if you'd all be willing to add one or two primary issues that you expect to face. Oh, I see them students not logging in. Oh, here they come. Thank you. Good job. Good job. I am copying and pasting them as fast as they come in. A lot of student-centered responses. Fantastic. Great job. We have some experienced people in this group right now. I love it. Great job. I'm sure some of you are following along on the chat feature, and some of you are watching me copy and paste people's responses into this. So for the simulation, this is an open-ended simulation. If you are using this in your district or in your higher ed institution or at a conference, this could be a time that you ask people to turn and talk to each other about what their response is. Interestingly enough, at these decision points, I actually prefer Zoom, because what I can do is I give everybody an equal opportunity to share what they're thinking about right there. Okay, so I think I got a lot of responses in there. We're gonna move on to the next.
As you near the end of a very significant and busy day, you finally have a moment to ponder and consider. As chair of the counseling department, you decide to review the work priorities established at the beginning of the year. You realize that beginning tomorrow, moving into a virtual environment is going to require some significant adjustments. You begin by prioritizing the relative importance of each of your major goals based on this new situation. Which will you focus on first?
Now, this is a very important decision point that we need to make. And I'm going to ask each one of you, wherever you are right now, I'm kind of getting more information. I'm going to ask you to take a pen or a pencil and write down A, B, C, D, or E, which choice you would do first, because after everybody locks in their answer, I'm going to have you submit your answer on a poll. Okay, so here's the first choice, or A. What would we focus on first? A is communicating effectively. B, or the second option, fostering a sense of community. The third option, or C, addressing feelings of isolation and estrangement. 4, ensuring student engagement and achievement. Or 5, maintaining contact with all students, or the fifth option. So write down on your own. I see some of you are just recording it on the chat feature, which is wonderful. You can do that to remind yourself. And I'm going to put up a poll, and it's going to say first choice, second choice, third choice, and these options disappear. So I want to give you enough time to get the one you want. And I'm going to launch the poll right now. So you may vote wherever you are. Oh, I see the votes rolling in right now. I wish you could see what I see, because this is super cool. Nice. Oh, over half the people have voted. Great job. I'm seeing some bar graphs get higher and some go lower. And what's interesting is right now we have all of the options, the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth option all chosen. So I'm going to end the poll, and I'm going to show it to you right now so you can see what people thought. So we have 52% saying the first option, 36% the fifth option, and we have various ones in between there. So take another look here. So our first priority seems to be communicating effectively, and also the fifth one, which is maintaining contact with all students. So those would be our priorities. Now what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to start a breakout room with 3 or 4 people, and I'm going to have you talk about your choice and what did you choose and why. And I also want you to say, did it surprise you, the results of what you saw? So here we go. I'm going to create some rooms right now. And go. Oh, great. I see people joining their room. Great job. Thank you for joining the room. And if you have technical difficulties, you can just hang on in the main session. We'll be back in about 2 minutes or so. We'll just keep this going. I want to give people time to talk about their choice and why they chose it. And if you're a participant that is still in the main session, just want to kind of thank you for joining as well. And also let you know that part of the value of the simulations is to get people talking about what we need to be talking about as school counselors, as school leaders, as aspiring leaders, wherever you fall on the spectrum. it's important to give people time to think about what they chose and why they chose it. And when I listen to people explain why they chose different options, I hear them talk about experiences that they've had in the past, their belief system, their values, what types of leaders they have served under in the past. And it really gets interesting, especially to know that, like in this decision point, so many different people, we chose option 1, option 2, option 3, and 4 and 5. So I'm going to go ahead and give everybody 60 seconds to come back to the main session, and we'll keep going.
From 8:30 to 10:30. Then group B.
Welcome back, everybody. I see more and more people coming back to the main session. That's fantastic. All right. I see people coming back more and more. Welcome back to the main session. Hopefully you got to meet a new friend from somewhere else in the country to just chat about what you would choose and why. And it's a good thing to
they didn't
more different perspectives that are out there, the more we can learn from each other. So one thing that I found very beneficial of the simulations is to randomize the groups rather than force people into groups of like-minded people. The more they are not like-minded, the better off it is. Now, based on our decision point, I think everybody is back now, is A. So we are going to focus on communicating effectively as our main focus. That was option number 1. Now, okay.
Of the categories remaining, which would you identify as priority 2?
It was maintaining contact with all students.
And finally, which would you consider priority 3?
Ooh, let me go back to the poll. I don't remember that one. It was the second option. Nice. Which would be this one, fostering a sense of community.
Okay, you've identified your highest priority. And priorities 2 and 3 are, a copy of these priorities has just been placed in your file cabinet for future reference.
That's down here. So we are going to...
Note to self, you identified the following priorities.
These are our priorities, communicating effectively.
Okay, you've identified your highest. Why did you choose communicating effectively as your top priority?
Ooh. Let's go back to the chat feature for this one. So why, looking back at the pandemic when it started, why would we choose communicating effectively as our top priority? What did we learn from this last March? If you'd be willing to go to your chat box and type in a response, I would love it. Oh, yes. Lindsay was first. Thank you, Lindsay. Jolene, thank you. Oh, nice. Here they come. Oh, these are good responses. Good job. Yeah, the rest cannot be completed effectively without proper communication. That's right. Expectations, clear and concise. They qualm the worries. They do. I always think that one thing that I've learned as a leader is when there's a vacuum of information, people tend to fill it in with like the worst possible scenario. So I always think about that. Like as a former superintendent for 8 years, I always wanted to drive the communication. And that's a lot of what I'm reading from you as well. Nice. All right. Well, thanks for adding that to the chat feature. That's going to be recorded in our final report.
Principal Stout asks faculty and staff to remain behind at the end of the day to share concerns, ideas, and help him see around the corner, as he puts it. Concerns regarding utilization of online learning resources quickly rises to the top of the issues list, and much of the meeting centers around how online programs might be selected and implemented. Principal Stout reiterates district's desire to implement quickly and leverage continuous improvement strategies to refine online content on the fly. Department chairs volunteer to become a clearinghouse for content and ask teachers to work together to ensure all are comfortable with the technology. Most agree that all existing schedules will need to be coordinated and consolidated to avoid conflicts and provide time to develop and implement online content as we go.
Bingo.
The late afternoon meeting results in several teams being formed to address obvious issues, but you feel that some potentially significant yet less obvious issues remain unaddressed. In the space below, list as many other issues as you can in 3 minutes.
Ooh, what were some other issues? We're not going to take the full 3 minutes, but what were some other issues that we can list here? If you go to the chat feature, I would love that. You're doing me a favor, so thank you. Special needs students, thanks, Becky. Students' lack of internet connectivity, I love it. Here we go. Great. Yes, lack of parent involvement, devices, mental health. Think how much we've learned about mental health in the last few months. Emotional help, absolutely. Missing milestone events. Oh, thanks, Pascal. I like that idea. How to grade. Oh, yeah. People were struggling to figure out how do you grade in a situation like that. So many good. Suzanne, professional development for teachers and counselors about doing their job online. So many things to think about. Yes, thank you. All right, let's move to the next slide.
Early Friday morning, things erupt. You find 3 email requests for information that came within minutes of each other, beginning at 6 a.m. They are from a senior. I've worked for the last 4 years to get to this point, and I'm concerned about how the remaining 6 weeks of this school year are going to affect my grades and graduation. Am I going to get my diploma? When? How? From a junior. I assume that with school closures comes the premature end of the football season. Will this affect my chances for scholarships? Will we be playing football next year? From a parent. I have a very responsible job and need to know what will happen to my child's education if I'm not able to help her with schoolwork. Which will you do first?
Yes. I always think about that as a leader's perspective because the pandemic or any situation or any decision that a leader makes, it's viewed differently from literally every individual person's perspective. And there are as many different opinions as what's going on as there are people out there. So these are 3 very distinct opinions here. And we're going to go back to our poll and we are going to choose one of these options. Which one would we do first? So if you take out your trusty pen or pencil, or you can type in your response in the chat feature to remind you which one it is, because these are going to disappear and you're going to vote on the poll, and that's what we're going to vote with. So what are we going to do first? The first option, deal with the graduation issue of the senior. The second option, deal with the scholarship issue from the junior. The third option, address the parent's concern. Fourth option, meet with your team of counselors. Fifth option, meet with the school leadership. And the sixth option, consider your department's plan of work. Oh, I like it. And also remember on my poll, I say none of these are good answers. I always let people throw that out there. All right, so get your thoughts in order because I'm going to send a poll and then you can vote. So all I'm doing as the facilitator, I'm relaunching the same poll. So I'm going to relaunch it. right now. Please vote. Even if you did it in the chat feature, please do it on this. That way I can get my percentages correct. Oh, there are 2 options that are really in the lead right now. Nice. Over 50% of people have voted already from all over the country. How cool is that? It's awesome. Yes, I have my first person. None of these options seems good to me. Love it. Thank you for doing that. All right, here we go. I'm going to end the poll. And I'm going to share the results. I always find that people are very curious about what the results are. So it seemed like the 5th option, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, meet with the school leadership was first. Next, at 27% was the 4th option, meet with your team of counselors. Okay, so I'm going to stop the sharing. And I'm going to send you into a breakout room to say, what did you choose and why did you choose your response? And was it surprising of what you just saw as the results? Okay, I'm going to open the rooms right now. Oh, great. I see people joining the rooms. Thank you. Good job. And I'm assigning some people that just joined us. There we go. Great.
Hello. Anyone in the group?
I'm still here. I think David may have joined one of the breakouts. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think that's right, Mary Pat. Everyone will be back in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
I joined a meeting. I joined a breakout room. I'm going to close them here and give people time to come back? All right, they have less than a minute to join back. Craig Peace, my friend from Wayne State, how's it going?
Going well.
Good to see. Hey, did you know I'm now on the Wayne State Institutional Review Board Committee?
Is that right?
Crazy, huh?
You're going to review our program?
No, I think I'm just on the IRB committee.
Oh,
So
good
I'm
for
helping.
you.
Yeah, I'm helping Dr. Barron with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm off campus this semester, so
Nice.
I don't get to see Dr. Barron as much as I did.
Sure. All right, here we go. Okay, I see people rejoining the main group, which is perfect. All right. All right, it looks like everybody's back. So hopefully you got a good conversation in. And if I remember right, our the fifth option is what we said first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here. And let's keep this moving. There we go. Fifth option down here.
Okay, you've chosen to schedule a meeting with leadership. Which lens will you use to focus the desired outcomes of this meeting?
All right, pull out your trusty pen or pencil again. I'm going to have you write down your response. Now we only have 4 choices. So the lens that we're going to come into this with the leadership team, the first option, we need to change our focus. The second option, find creative solutions to maintain the current focus. The third option, we just need to adjust our expectations. And the fourth option, stay the course. So write down your response, and I am going to relaunch the poll. Oh, I see people voting. Thank you. Oh, yes, 3 options we have so far. I'm not trying to give it away, but nobody has said stay the course yet. The pandemic made us all need to switch. Interesting. All right, a majority of people have voted. Great job. I wish everybody could see, I know you're probably getting sick of me saying this, but it is amazing to see those little polls all coming across the screen. And as a facilitator, I just love that. All right, so I'm going to share the results with you. The second option is the highest at the moment. And we also have the first option and third option, and none of these options seems good to you. Now, if I had like a face-to-face classroom of 20 people, as the facilitator, the first one I would say is, all right, which one of you said none of these options seems good to me? And I let them talk and kind of share their thoughts, and that really gets the energy flowing in the room. So here we go. We're going to go to second option. And on this one, we're not going to go to a breakout room. I'm just going to keep this simulation going. Find creative solutions to maintain the current focus.
With much of the year already complete, it seems advantageous to find creative ways to maintain current priorities and directions. You remember all too well the amount of time it took to identify priorities and develop appropriate strategies and goals at the beginning of the year. So you encourage your team to work with you to find ways of maintaining the current focus. After several hours of struggling to modify existing goals and strategies, it becomes apparent that the new environment has very little in common with the current one, and that basic needs have changed. The team agrees that continuing to find creative adjustments is a waste of time, and they advocate developing goals and strategies based on current needs. It seems that your approach to engage with others and develop strategies and priorities results in a systematic approach that allows for prioritization of issues and new stratified response protocols. However, the time spent distilling those tools has resulted in a backlog of requests and frustration from students and parents alike. Many are calling for a third and fourth time, and tension is growing. It's Friday afternoon before you're able to surface long enough to see the growing list of unanswered emails and voice messages. As you're going through them, attempting to prioritize, Virginia, the school secretary, brings a stack of phone messages and notes to you from parents voicing concern at the absence of internet in their homes. They want to know how their children are going to engage in learning. She shares that at least 10 masked parents have been to the school this morning and left handwritten notes. She sheepishly smiles and says, "I hope you have some ideas. How might you respond?"
All right. I'm going to ask you to choose one of these 5 options, or remember, none of them seem good to me. The first option, ask parents what would work best for them. Option number 2, leverage the public library's computers and internet services. Option number 3, reach out to the local public broadcasting. Option 4, schedule delivery of printed lesson materials. And option number 5, work with the local internet service providers. Which one would you choose to work on first? All right, I'm going to open the poll and relaunch it. And you should be able to vote right now. Oh yeah, here they come. And they're coming faster and more furious than last time. I love it. Ooh, it's kind of, this is a little bit closer than it was last time. So as the facilitator, when you have more, it's closer in responses. I love getting people to chat about it. All right, so which option seems best? I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to share the results with you. And it looks like the first option narrowly came out, well, 39%. We also have the 4th option and the 5th option right behind it. So take a look again at those options. This one is what was first. And I'm going to send people into breakout rooms, and you can share, what did you choose and why? And did the responses, did they surprise you or not? So I'm going to open the breakout rooms, and they are open. There we go. I'm assigning a few people, which is totally normal. All right, let's see here. So as the facilitator, I'm just scanning to make sure that everybody is in a room with at least one other person. Nice. Looks like it's working. right, I'm gonna close the rooms. Give people 60 seconds to join us back in.
I am meeting out here.
Welcome back to the main session.
You got that right. This is very
Bouncing everybody back and around. You're doing so well. Thank you. Incredible group of people. I love it. All right, giving a few more seconds to have everybody wrap up their conversation and then join us as the simulation continues going on here. All right, welcome back to all those from across the country that are back in the main session. I think we chose number 1, so let's see how that played out.
You approach your team of counselors during the daily exchange and ask them to reach out to parents in the community regarding possible solutions to no internet service in many homes. As you work with parents through your counselors to generate potential solutions, it becomes clear that any solution is going to be days and probably weeks away. You also realize that no matter the long-term solution, you're going to be dealing with unhappy, frustrated parents and students in the near term. You are busy in your home office reaching out to students and scheduling one-on-one Zoom meetings. Even though it's becoming increasingly difficult, you've made a point of checking your email as often as possible. As you conclude your 3rd virtual meeting of the day, you notice that you received 3 emails within the last 10 minutes. You quickly review them all. Which will you address first?
All right, before we go to that, we're talking about Zoom meetings and we're in a Zoom meeting. I read a recent article talking about Zoom fatigue. And the reason why we get such Zoom fatigue is we're paying attention to so many things. Like literally, I'm looking at 30 people right now. And I'm monitoring the chat feature, which simulation is coming next. And our brains are going so hard and so fast. We're paying attention to so many good things that we get Zoom fatigue. All right, I'll get off my learning lesson there. All right, take out your trusty pen or pencil. And let's see, which one are we going to handle first? Option number 1. A top performing tier 1 student has college admission questions. This is email number 2. Challenged student with attention deficit disorder, tier 3, is struggling to stay engaged with e-learning. Email number 3. The upset tier 2 student challenging student's grade report. And the 4th option here, none of the above. So write down what you think you would choose. And I'll give you a little bit of time. And I'm going to send up the poll. All right, the poll is up. Please vote. Oh yeah, here we go. Nice. Thanks for voting. 45% of people have voted. There's one option that seems to be emerging at the moment. Great. All right, I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share it with you. The second option seems to be the highest. Also, the second highest is the 4th option, which is none of the above. And also none of these options seem to be good to me, gained 12% of the votes as well. So the second option, now I'm assuming that when I went through this the first time, this is what I chose as well. Spending our time as school counselors and school leaders with the kiddos who need the most support is sometimes a great way to spend our time and energy. And I'm assuming that that's what most people would say. And I want to keep this simulation moving along. So we're going to choose this option and we're going to see how that impacts our score.
Your choice here is a departure from the priorities identified earlier. It is easy to get sidetracked, especially when students reach out. Having priorities and guidelines is not meant to limit, but to focus the use of your time. They are a form of triage and an excellent tool to help align the use of your time with highest priority issues and problems.
Right, so going back to our
Note to
priorities.
self, you identified the following priorities.
So it's just a break from communicating effectively.
Your choice here is a departure. Without the opportunity to mingle with students daily in the halls and classrooms, you are left to wonder how they are doing. You fear that many problems have gone underground and that when they finally surface, they may have become unmanageable and the potential damage may be greater than if they had surfaced early. Your phone rings in the middle of a Zoom meeting with a student and you let it go to voicemail. Following the meeting, you listen to their message. I have a friend that just called me and spent almost 30 minutes complaining that her parents are too busy to help her and not helpful when she asks them questions. She's really feeling a lack of support as well as a loss of connection to her friends. How do you respond?
Before I get to those responses, I want to talk a little bit about this. You fear that many problems have gone underground. Isn't that the truth of what we felt as counselors and school leaders? And man, that's just an important thing. Just a reminder that all 30 of our simulations are written by people in the trenches and our partners like you that help us write these. Anyway, how do we respond to this student? Do we create a feeling alone hangout for students? Do we, option number 2, ask students for ideas? Option number 3, gather ideas from other schools. Number 4, reach out to the district. And number 5, work with the faculty to build social time into the assignments. What would be our option here? I'll give you a little bit to either write down your response or put them in the chat feature. And I'm gonna relaunch the poll right now. All right.
Which option seems best to you?
Oh, I see the votes coming in here. Great job. All right, I'm going to end the poll, share the results with you. All right, we have a tie, second option, and a fifth option. Now, as the facilitator, you have to decide, all right, what am I going to do about a tie, right? And what I like to do is I like to do one of 2 things. First, I'll pick on, like if I have aspiring leaders, especially in my group, I'll say, all right, Mary Beth. And I'll say, what do you think it should be? And I put somebody on the spot and they get that feeling of pressure like, oh, I'm the leader in this decision and what I decide is how we go forward. Another option is like to use the chat feature and to say the first person who says the second option or the fifth option is going to break the tie. That just tells you that somebody is more passionate. So is there anybody that wants to say the second option? Jolene, boom. Jolene was all over it. I love it. It's just a great way. Ask students for ideas, because I always know out there that there's somebody that's really passionate about that. And they're like, that's their counselor heart reaching out like, oh, I need to ask the students. That's fantastic. Also, I'm getting a few private messages on the chat saying I need to bow out for another meeting. Like we totally understand. We're going to go through the simulation a little bit further and then we're going to tie it up at the end. But we totally realize that if it doesn't work for you to stay, that's okay. because we're going to record this and we're going to send it to you, and you can skip right over to what you missed if you'd like to finish with us. So option number 2 is how we broke the tie. Fantastic.
Almost 3 weeks following school closures, you receive word that a student has died. Circumstances surrounding the death are not clear, but you feel the need to organize support for family and friends. Which of the following roles will you take?
All right, in the midst of a global pandemic, one of our students passes away. We have 5 options to choose from here. Option number 1, get social services involved with students. Option number 2, schedule a virtual celebration of life. Option 3, work with parents. Option 4, support student initiatives. And option 5, encourage students to organize support. If you'd be willing to write down your response, what you think it is, and I'm going to launch a poll right now. All right, there's the poll. I see people voting. I remember the first poll, the responses were coming in so slowly, and now they're just flying through. Good job. All right, we have option 1, 2, 3, and 4 out there. So I've facilitated these simulations hundreds of times to thousands of people in probably every state in the United States. And one thing that never ceases to amaze me is when people see the results like right now, and the most people chose the first option. If you didn't choose the first option, sometimes the participants are like, what? You would choose that? And like almost cannot believe that so many other people don't agree with them. So as the facilitator of these simulations, if you're a facilitator, talk about that. That is so awesome to talk about. So option number 1 has the most votes. Get social services involved with students. We could spend some time talking about this in breakouts, but I'm going to keep this moving.
You've had a very busy afternoon and things at home have gotten hectic. You have 2 middle school students of your own, and you can certainly relate to many of the concerns you deal with daily. Just about the time you're hoping to wrap up your day, you receive a call from a very emotional freshman. She cries and tells you that her friends have posted some very mean-spirited comments about her in social media and that she is devastated. How do you respond?
All right, we're going to vote again here. We have 4 choices now. Schedule time with the bullied student. Option 2, schedule time with the parents. Option 3, review the posts. And option number 4, inform the assistant principal. Now, which would you do first? Now, a lot of times you might do one and then the other, but I want to know which one you would do first. Relaunching the poll now. Oh, the votes are coming in. Great. Over 50% of people have voted already. Thank you. I'm going to end this poll. Which option seems best to you? 2/3 of us said the first option, which is, let me go back to it, schedule a time with the bullied student. The very first thing that we would do. Fantastic. And I'm assuming we're not going to talk about this one in breakout rooms, but you understand that you want to talk to the student right away to hear that perspective.
Before determining whether or not this complaint is valid and needs to be reported, you schedule time to meet virtually with the student and gather more specific information. You feel strongly that incidents like this can tear at the social fabric of your school, and you feel an urgency to demonstrate your department's commitment to addressing feelings of isolation and estrangement. You consider possible strategies to highlight this incident and your response to it as a demonstration of departmental commitment. You also decide to bring it up in your exchange meeting tomorrow morning. To kick off your early morning exchange meeting, you share your concerns and ideas regarding the possible cyberbullying incident with the other counselors. They listen and provide nonverbal support. But as you conclude and seek their input, the virtual room gets quiet. Finally, one of your senior counselors says, "Let's discuss the other issues we're confronting, and perhaps at the end of the meeting, we can revisit the cyberbullying issue." You agree. And before the end of the meeting, you realize that the cyberbullying issue needs to be lateraled to one of the two assistant principals. Based on the priorities you previously set, other issues supersede this one.
Fair enough.
It's Friday morning, the final day of what has been a very busy week. You contemplate how different it has been and the diversity of all the issues with which you have wrestled. You wonder, however briefly, what new issues you'll be called on to address today. It doesn't take long. You receive a mildly panicked call from Miss Moffat, the newest of Altamont's 3 English teachers. A student in her creative writing class submitted last evening a disturbing paper. Much of the content of her paper was inappropriate and causes me concern. I've got to join the faculty meeting right now, but would like to follow up with you at 2:30 this afternoon. Will that work? You confirm that you're available at 2:30 p.m. and ask her to call you then. You tell her you'll give some thought to next steps before she calls. Prior to her call, you should determine your next step. Which of the following will you do first?
All right, we have some options. Which would we do first? First option, ask Ms. Moffat to provide you with a copy of the paper. Option 2, speak with the student to identify the intended message. Option 3, speak with the parents. Option 4, offer resources if appropriate to Ms. Moffat. Option 5, refer this to Mrs. Gallegos, the assistant principal. And option 6, encourage Ms. Moffat to reach out. So which one would we do first? I'll launch the poll right now. Great. So I created this poll question 6 months ago. So all the Zoom meetings that I have when I use this poll, it's just one question. And if you're delivering a simulation via Zoom, you can create your poll one time and you are good to go. All right. The polling looks like it's about, the voting looks like it's about done. And a lot of people would say the first option. But we have so many other options out there as well. So the first option, ask Ms. Moffat to provide you with a copy of the paper. Get some more information and read it. Very good.
You decide to ask Ms. Moffat to provide you with a copy of the submission so you can review it. Within minutes, you receive an email from her with the paper attached. You review it carefully and detect an underlying tone of anger. The paper is about a young girl who is abandoned by self-absorbed parents and explicitly describes her revengeful retaliation. You recognize these signs and work with the teacher to arrange help for the struggling girl. Several weeks following the initial report of a concerning student submission, you're reviewing progress to date. Injecting yourself into the situation was efficient, and you were quickly able to leverage your experience to identify and engage resources necessary to help the struggling girl and her parents. However, a close friend among the school's more senior teachers shares with you that although Ms. Moffat was glad to see the girl helped, she feels there was much she could have learned by assisting more in the process. You realize that your zeal to produce results probably overlooked an excellent learning opportunity.
Fair.
In your conversations with students and parents, you regularly inquire regarding how the students are responding to the various forms of online learning. Several teachers are conducting once-a-week Zoom lessons, while others are leveraging online programs for teaching and personally coaching students in Zoom meetings. Yet another has made arrangements to have classes 2 times each week broadcast using a newly created school television network. Over the past week, you've had several parents as well as students complain that the work being assigned by Mrs. Williams, one of your senior teachers, is not engaging, and students as well as parents are unhappy. How might you best assist?
Sidebar here, my wife is a first grade teacher and was creating videos for her class, and then those videos went out to other students and other families and other siblings. And just in the last week, she's had 3 people comment that they're going back to the videos that my wife created in April and May about teaching kids how to read. So it's all over the spectrum on all teachers did all different things and those resources that are out there. Anyway, back to this. How might you best assist? We have 5 options. Contact the instructional coach to support the teacher. Contact the principal, option number 2. Option number 3 is contact the dean of students. Option 4 is send the teacher an e-learning resource for engaging in students. And option number 5, ask the assistant principal to find for the teacher's last classroom walkthrough evaluation. All right, get your response in. Figure out which one you would like. And I will launch the poll right now. Nice. I see the responses coming in. We have 4 of the 5 already chosen. Good job. I see people are voting. All right, over 50% have voted. And we have a tie. Yes. All right, so I am going to send people into breakout rooms, and I'm going to have you talk about especially these first 2 options here. Contact the instructional coach to support the teacher, or contact the principal. Which ones do we think would be good? So I'm going to send you into a breakout room, and this will be a fairly quick one. So I'm going to recreate the rooms and go. There we go. All right, I closed the breakout rooms and welcome back everybody to the main session here.
this is like the students are complaining that the teachers are not engaged.
Welcome back to the session. I see more and more people are coming back. Is there anybody that would like to put their support for option number 1? Contact the instructional coach or contact the principal. It looks like Leighton is the first one. Contact the principal. Thank you very much. Hopefully you have a good breakout room. I sent you into a little bit bigger breakout room for that time.
Yeah.
I wanted to see,
Yeah.
Because
just so we can kind of tell, like, what is a small breakout room like and what is a larger one breakout room like. Also, somebody asked me, how long do you typically send people into breakout rooms? And the answer to that question is, it all depends. But I would say between 2 and 8 minutes is the best answer that I give, whether it's face-to-face or Zoom. So these, we have such a large group like we do today, I probably offer a little bit less time than usual. But I want to give everybody an opportunity to share as well. So as the facilitator, it all depends. And we are going to have
During a counseling session with one of your senior students, she mentions that an unnamed friend of hers may be dealing with abuse from her parents. She confides that this student was able to deal with it when her social interactions provided a respite. But now that she's home every day, all day, the situation is quickly becoming untenable. How do you respond? Select all that apply.
All right, we can do all that apply. So I'm going to have you use the chat feature, and I'm going to have you, I'm going to click on it if anybody in the room thinks that we need to do this. So option number 1, talk to the friend. Option 2, encourage the reporting student to refer the abused girl to CPS. Option 3, encourage empathy in the reporting girl. Option 4, ask follow-up questions to the reporting student. Option number 5, file a CPS report. And option number 6, have the principal contact the student. Okay, if you go to the chat feature, and if you would, all right, I see Becky has a bunch of them. A, B, C, D, E, F. Boom! B, C, D, E, F. All of them. Very good. I like it. Now remember, all of our choices impact that the bar. So that one went really fast. I did not anticipate that. Well done,
You
Becky.
have completed the Leading a Virtual School Counseling Program simulation. Now let's review your responses and outcomes. On the following screens, you will be presented with performance indicators that result from the choices you made and detailed feedback for each of the choice options you selected. You may print and review the feedback. If this simulation is part of a group activity, be prepared to discuss your feedback during the simulation debrief portion of the program.
All right, so we finished the simulation. Good job, everybody. I feel kind of stressed actually going such a hard decision-making process. So we can dive into this as much as we want. So this is how the simulation kind of gives us a report, how we were above average for quantity measures, even for quality. Tangible needs, we hit that out of the park, and the social emotional needs at 83%. Managing relationships above average, maintaining structures and systems also at 82%. Well done. The educational balance for the academic advancement. Now this could mean that based on our choices, we didn't go down that path. Or maintaining engagement at 77%. Our communication for individual and groups was off the charts, just perfect. And that was one of our first priorities, remember. So now we can print off this report. If I click on this, right now it's asking me if I want to print my entire decision-making process. So that's one of the cool features of these simulations as well. So congratulations. This could be like your, I see some familiar faces on here that this is maybe their 10th simulation or more that they've experienced. And some of you, this was your very first. But we want to now open it up for questions that you may have, and you may just unmute yourself and ask questions, or you may go ahead and write them in the chat feature. We will do them as well. And we have our whole team at School Sims here on this call. So one of us will be able to answer any questions that you have, but thank you for joining. It's just a fantastic group here. So opening it up for questions now. Thank you, Dr. Jones. You enjoyed it. That's awesome. You're very welcome. These simulations are just an awesome tool to get people talking about what we need to talk about. I honestly think that the best, this is the best tools out there for counselors, principals, superintendents, aspiring leaders. It's the best tool out there. Thomas Evans, when will this simulation be available for use? I'm going to have to defer to my team on this one. Ken or Brian?
This is Mary Pat. David, it actually is in the final phases of QA. I mean, we actually are finishing up some of there was a little bit of audio trouble here and there, and we'll be addressing those. So I would say within, a couple of weeks at most.
Couple weeks. Also, Thomas, this one here, when they're in quotation marks, our hope is to eventually replace all of those with videos. Just like a lot of other simulations, it'll break to like a parent complaining or a high school student complaining, but because of COVID restrictions, those videos are slow coming. Becky, as a counselor, one concern that was evident during school closures was the issue of maintaining confidentiality when engaging remotely with students. I am interested in what others have done. So this is a question for the group. What are some things that you did in your setting that helped to ensure confidentiality? One thing I know that happened at my school of my children was when they needed to record the lessons via swivel is what seemed to be popular. Swivels are, you can put a little lanyard around your neck and it follows the teacher around, and the swivel moves and it can be live streaming. They had to place them on small carts really close to the teacher to ensure that none of the lessons were being recorded. Now, engaging remotely with students, if it's one-on-one, that's a little bit different, obviously. But that's one thing that, because of FERPA, they did. Anybody else want to answer that question? Okay, I'll go. Yes, thank you. You're welcome, Becky. This was very helpful to see how you manage a sim through Zoom. In your experience, how long do you think is ample time for breakouts? Great question. I would say between 2 and 8 minutes. Now, Pascal, this simulation lasts a little bit longer than usual, but most of the simulations fit very well within 1 hour. That's a very good time frame. And then your breakout rooms anywhere from 2 minutes to 8 minutes. And as the facilitator, I like to keep things fresh. So like I can read body language, and if I need to keep things moving along, I'm not going to send everybody to a breakout room every time. So that's how I decide that. it's the same exact, what's eerie is it's the same exact as what I'd do if I was face to face.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Jolene talked about we used enhanced security features on Zoom to help with privacy. That's great. Any other questions that people have? Or any final comments from the team at School Sims? Mary Pat, I think you're on mute.
Sorry. I just wanted to thank everyone for participating, and you, David, for doing this for us. Thank you.
You're welcome. It was awesome. Thanks for your time, everybody. I appreciate it. Oh, somebody was piping in there. Anyway, thanks for your time, everybody. We'll stay on in case there's any last minute questions that you prefer to ask in a smaller group. But on behalf of School Sims, thanks for joining us today. And we gave you a sneak peek at the latest simulation. There are 30 of them in our library right now. This would be number 31. And I know we have 4 more that'll come out in a couple weeks as well. So lots of people saying thank you, and you're very welcome. Very welcome. I was looking forward to this all week. Yes. Is it possible to get professional development points? Ooh, what do you mean by professional development points? Is that something specific to your state? All right. I'm going to unmute L. Bierwinkel.
Well, David, if I can chime in, this is Ken. On that, we have done that through other organizations using the Sims, use them as ours as part of, certainly on the leadership certification side. So if the answer to David's question was for some kind of recertification, those can be arranged. We just need to do this with another providing organization. So in the state of Pennsylvania, there are these count for Act 45 credit, if you're familiar with that. And we are talking with other states and their programs as well, but we need to collaborate with somebody or with a university.
Yeah, so continuing education credits, some states call them. I have taught a class at the University of South Dakota that needed so many contact hours for 1 graduate credit. So CEUs. Great. So you'd probably have to organize that with either a school district or a higher ed institution. And if that's something that you're interested in, you can contact me or Ken on our team, or anybody at our School Sims team, and we'll explore that option with you. All right. Well, that concludes our webinar. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and stay safe out there and take care, everybody. See ya.